So welcome to the third installment of Introducing, and today we'll be introducing Paper Rex, who are from Malaysia, Singapore, and they finished as the APAC champions. And that means that they will go straight to the playoff stage and skip the group stage overall. Their Masters 1 performance, they were at Reykjavik and they finished 4th. And their expectation, or at least my expectation for Paper Rex going into Copenhagen, is that they are kind of a dark horse potential winner of the entire tournament. I do expect that most likely they'll kind of still finish in that kind of 3rd to 4th, 5th to 6th range. That's kind of the most likely outcome for them. But they do have the potential to upset teams as well and go on a run, no doubt, and potentially win it all. Now, when it comes to Paper Rex's style, their style is very different to most teams because it is very, very aggressive. In fact, they are probably the most aggressive team in Valorant, full stop. Definitely the most aggressive top team in Valorant, but probably the most aggressive team in all of Valorant altogether. And that is very different to a lot of teams, right? Because most teams will change how they play based on the map and their team comp and who they're playing against, right? They'll try and find little advantages in that. Paper Rex don't care. They literally do not care. They are full aggression, full chaos, full in the moment, just, aim duels with utility, you being used like all the time, just super fast, as we will see in some of the clips. It's incredibly entertaining, it's incredibly fun, and it's incredibly unique as well. And it's because of that uniqueness is kind of why I put the thing at the bottom they have, that they might struggle against other Asian teams, but non-Asian teams should beware. And the reason that I say that is because they play such a unique style that if you haven't seen it before or you haven't played against something like it before, you can struggle a lot. But if you have seen it before, then you might know how to adapt to it. And we saw this happen at the first Masters tournament, where the two teams that Paper Rex lost to were DRX, a team from Korea, and Zeta Division, a team from Japan, who will have either played against Paper Rex or scrimmed against Paper Rex quite a lot themselves, or at least someone similar to them. But the teams that they beat were G2 and the God, the #1 seed of NA and EMEA, who probably have never seen a team like Paper Rex before, never played a team like Paper Rex before, and we saw it in those games that those teams majorly struggled with what Paper Rex were throwing at them. When it comes to the actual members of Paper Rex, you can see we got Benkai here, who's the IGL, MyFreak, Jing, Forsaken, and Devi, and Alex is their coach. When it comes to the roles that each of them play, you can see that Benkai, like a lot of IGLs, will kind of fill for what the team needs. Sometimes go for controller, sometimes go sentinel, sometimes go initiator. MyFreak is their primary controller player. Jing and Forsaken are their two duelists. Forsaken, you would say maybe is the primary duelist, with Jing being the second duelist, but honestly they're both super correct, and it's super aggressive, super fun, as you'll see in some of the clips. And Devi is their primary initiator player, who does play a bit of chamber as well. When we look at the stats for each player, honestly I'm not sure if there's too much to take away from these. Some of the numbers for Forsaken in particular are absolutely absurd, but there isn't too much to take away from it because they are kind of just dominant. Even within the larger APAC region, they're still kind of just dominant and destroy everyone, even at that kind of level. So there really isn't too much to take away from it, other than the fact that Jing and Forsaken go kill, and I wouldn't take too much away from these numbers either, because everyone's already dead for the other three players. Jing and Forsaken have already killed them all anyway. But now let's take a look quickly at some clips of Paper Rex, and you will see pretty quickly what I mean when it comes to this aggression. For instance, let's take this game from the grand final of APAC against Xerxia here, and you can see that Xerxia are on a save this round. And for most teams, when the opposition is on a save, you don't want to get aggressive, right? You don't want to take that risk that someone might die with a gun that becomes retrievable for the other team, and then that becomes a big problem for you. Paper Rex still don't care. They really, really do not care whatsoever, and you'll see that in this round, because down they go, they send out the stun, in comes Forsaken on the Neon, just running there. Even though the stun misses, Benkai's gonna manage to get 2 kills as well. They send in the Neon stun, he pops his ult, gets that kill as well, and you can see it's all just in the moment. They're just looking, they're just fighting to see who can find this last kill as well. That's kind of how they play. Forsaken is literally just running around the whole time here, and he does manage to win the round. As you can see, the round ends almost straight away, and that is how a lot of these rounds go. For instance, let's take a look at the very next round in this game of Fracture. And again, this is them on the defensive side, but this carries across all different different maps, right? Just want to take a look at Forsaken and Jing here, who are literally going to race to see who can get here quickest to potentially get the kills, right? They're literally in a race with each other to see, oh, I want to get the kill first. They run into the tripwire, they see that no one is really there, and as we can see, Xerxia start to come onto the site instead from the other side. So Xerxia do manage to get onto the site, but then Benkai it manages to pop his ult as he hears the jet come in. This smoke is going to fade. Benkai gets the first kill, but then gets traded out. But here they come, right? They aren't going to stop. In comes Jing with his Raze ult here. I'm not sure if he quite saw someone go into the smoke there or not, but he pops it, gets that kill, manages to kill Cruz as well. They have lost MyFreak in the meantime, but I just want you to watch what happens next, because this is truly absurd. I don't think literally anyone else on any other team, maybe Forsaken would do this, but no one else on any other team would do what Jing is about to do. Just watch this. Cypher Cage comes in. The Cypher ult is about to come in. He throws his nade and just jumps through the cage and gets a kill. No one else would ever do this, right? And then they find Foxy at the end and manage to kill him as well. It is truly absurd what they are willing to do. They literally do not care whatsoever. And they often get rewarded for it because, one, they're cracked, and two, they're just insane. And here's just one last example for you as well from this game on Fracture, where they are just team chaos, right? Everything, a lot of it is just, you know, they do seem to have a plan here at the start, right? With the breach flash, with the neon wall, with the stun here, they're going to raise nade as well to get them out. And then Forsaken comes in here, but actually Xerxia are going to respond with a breach ult of their own. So they're going to breach ult across like this, even catching some of their own players, but they don't mind because, you know, it's going to stop this attack. But again, they do not stop, right? They live in this chaos. They thrive in this chaos. They decide, okay, well, I'm going to pop my Raze ult, and actually, we're going to ult you back, right? So here comes in the breach ult from Benkai as well, you know, kind of on the fly, and out comes the Raze ult, manages to get a kill. We end up with this really weird, everyone's stunned fight, and they get that one as well. But the aggression is coming from the other side, right? We've had a ton of things going on here, but actually, they haven't stopped on the other side either, and now MyFreak is going to run in to this breach and manage to get that kill as well. And we end up in this position here where, you know, already it's a 5v2 with 20 seconds in, make that a 5v1, and then Benkai, who is a bit of a ratty player, gets into that little corner there and manages to get that last kill as well. And on the attacking side, it's much the same, you know, very fast, very quick, very chaotic, very aggressive. All of that stuff is still here, as you will see in round 9 of the third map of the grand final in APAC on Breeze, because in we go, right? You got a Sky Flash in here, double jet smokes. They're doing a nice little A split here, and we're going to see that the jet dash comes in from Forsaken, and it is in this instance just Forsaken go kill. He manages to get that one, turn the flash. That's an insane shot that he hits for that second kill there. And in he starts to come, sees that Sushi Boy's there as well, dashes away, but now the pressure is coming in from the other side as well now, as MyFreak is here, so he's going to get a free kill on Sushi Boy's there in the middle of the site. And actually, Cruz has managed to, Foxy has managed to come in behind them here from Xerxia, very fast indeed, so they notice that, and again, I mean, they just create a lot of this, right, where do you look, right, it's so fast, it's so chaotic that no one else can keep up with them, because they're so used to playing at this speed and at this in this style that really, you know, no one else can ever keep up with them. And as soon as a round becomes chaotic, you're pretty much going to lose. And we end up in this situation here where eventually they are going to manage to find that last kill. But yeah, this is pretty much how they play on both sides, really, right? But it's still full of util. It's not, you know, just throwing and just going straight for it, but they do love to be very aggressive, as you can see. And well, Forsaken is actually going to die there, but Benkai is going to mop up and find the final kill. But now let's come to an example of how you might manage to counter Paper Rex. And for this, we're going to take a look at Zeta versus Paper Rex, the game that Paper Rex actually got eliminated in the last tournament. And Zeta destroyed them here on Haven, and one of the ways that they were able to do that was that they dictated the tempo, and they never got baited into playing Paper Rex at their own game. Everything they did was always their decision, and then as soon as they were happy with what they had, they played again. They never got baited into what Paper Rex were trying to do, and this, I think, is a good example of it here at the start of round 5, where actually they are going to get a bit aggressive. And this has happened before in this game, where Zeta has been quite aggressive, which is quite weird for them because they're kind of more of a controlled team that, you know, doesn't like to push boundaries too far. But in this instance, they had been aggressive and actually forced Paper Rex to play, you know, and kind of wait for that aggression early on and see if it was coming. And it actually was, but Paper Rex just weren't aware of exactly where it was coming, because Depths managed to walk down here all the way to mid. And what they're going to do is they're going to get the first kill, but I love what their reaction is, right? After they get that first kill, it's dash away, it's smoke up, it's get away, and then even the Sky here 10 also is going to retreat, right? He could have, in theory, stayed in this little corner, right? Everyone focuses on the Jet, maybe he gets a free kill as well, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't overstep the mark, because that would add chaos into the round where potentially something could go wrong. And as soon as you add chaos into the round, that's where Paper Rex are going to thrive, and that's where they can beat you. Everything was super controlled from Zeta. They had set plans all the time, and, you know, they stuck to the plan no matter what. They get one kill and then they're gone. Right? That is it. That is how I think you can beat this and try to manage Paper X and basically control them, is set strict plans of what you're going to do and stick to them and never ever add chaos into a round. And if we come to the attacking pistol round of the same game, you're going to see that some of the control and doing everything as a team and no individual plays started to really come out from Zeta, because again, as soon as you kind of, you know, go away from that kind of, you know, controlled style, that is when you will struggle, right? So you can see here that what Zeta do is they're going to group up as a team, they're going to go through garage and do a little C split here, right? So they come in with the dog, they start to enter in towards the C site, and you're going to see that they're going to outmaneuver Paper X pretty well here, right? As MyFreak sends out the flash there, they start to come in onto the site, and it's all controlled, but things don't go too great for them, right? They can't push deep into the site. They start to actually get tagged a bit there. Forsaken also gets tagged a bit, and they actually start to retreat, right? Again, not overstepping the mark and doing something that they feel like is at all risky, right? As soon as any amount of risk was involved, they just they stepped away from it, and they came back here. As you can see, they actually catch Jing by doing this, you know, on the rotate, and he ends up in a terrible position. And again, this is something Paper X would never do, right? Paper X would never come up to here, manage to get in onto site, and then retreat. That is just not in their DNA. And so I think Jing just expects that there's no way that, you know, any other team would do it either. But actually, in this instance, they do it, and they manage to get a first kill for free. But then I love what they do as well, because Paper X, if this was them, well, they'd just be storming off to A right now. And so they expect that the same thing will happen from Zeta, right? And so everyone starts rotating across towards A. But actually, Zeta just stay back. They stay in control, and they wait, right? I just love how they wait here, right? MyFreak has seen that some people are coming down towards long, but they haven't pushed. This Jet Depp has been here where he's going to find this kill. He's been there for a couple seconds now, right? Just sitting there, waiting for everyone, right? They had patience, and that is really where they got rewarded against Paper X, is that they were always controlled, and they were much more patient than a lot of other teams were, you know, like G2 and the Guard, who, you know, felt like they had to play Paper X at their own game, and it just simply did not work. And you see that Zeta get rewarded here with that round win, and they went on to win this map very convincingly, and then the series as well. So that is maybe how you want to play against Paper Rex, but now let's take a look at some of their maps, agents, and some of their eco strategies as well. So when it comes to the maps, I mean, there really isn't too much to take away from the overall map win rates. Maybe you can take something away from the attacking and defensive rounds, but as you can see, there's a lot of purple on this because they are very good, and they basically dominate their competition. So there isn't too much to take away from this, other than the fact that maybe, you know, if you are going to play against Paper X, your best chances are probably on something like Split and Icebox. Those are the two maps, particularly Split, that they seem to struggle on more than others. So they do potentially have, you know, a weaker map in there for sure that you might want to target against them if they don't ban it. And so it does seem like there are some opportunities, but as you can see, it seems like on a lot of maps they are doing pretty well. When it comes to their agents, though, there are some interesting things here. So just a quick reminder, the 35% means how often they are picking it, and the number in brackets here means how much more or less than they pick it than the average across all VCT teams. So you can see Astra, they do quite like Astra here quite a bit, and a bit more than most other teams, and they don't like Omen nearly as much as other teams, playing a lot more Astra than they do Omen. which is quite an interesting little fact. The same is true for Viper, right? They play a lot of Viper. They actually play even solo Viper on Fracture, for instance, which is something that not a lot of other teams do at all, and it's kind of unique to them that they actually just play solo Viper on Fracture as well, which is quite interesting. When it comes to the Sentinels, you can see, I mean, they're heavy in on Chamber as well, and a bit on Cypher, but not so much Killjoy or Sage compared to the average. They actually forced me to put Yoru and Reyna on this list, who weren't on any of the others because no one else had played them of the teams we looked at yet, but they did actually play a bit of Yoru and a bit of Reyna as well. When it comes to the other duelists, though, you can see that they are not in on Jet. This Neon one is perhaps a bit misleading because they actually only play Neon on Fracture. They just happen to have played more Fracture than any other map, so they aren't super in on Neon. I'd say this is actually more about average, but Raze, they are big time in on Raze. And when you have Jing, who's, you know, one of, if not the best Raze player in the world, yeah, I'd play a lot of Raze as well. And so yeah, they're definitely in on Raze and Fade also, right? And so you start to see some of the combos that they seem to like Astra, Viper, Raze, Fade, you know, those kind of agents and those kind of combos that you could do with those agents, they seem to, you know, be in on it and seeing the value from those kind of combos. They do pick breach a decent amount, you know, not as much as the overall average, but a decent amount nonetheless. The same is true for KO, a bit less than average, but actually Fade is very much eating into both the Sky and Sova pick rates, and they do often play double duelist with Jing and Forsaken, a lot more than I think other teams would. When it comes to their pistol and eco rounds, you can see that on pistols they are dominating. I mean, they are just better than their competition overall, so that's maybe not too much of a surprise. And it seems like their aggressive playstyle when they are on eco or semi-eco is also working big time as well, because they're winning almost 50% of those rounds, which is pretty absurd. And this one is perhaps a bit more surprising, that even against ecos and semi-ecos, they're actually doing really well as well, right? You might expect that their super aggressive playstyle might come back to bite them, and maybe it will in the actual tournament at Copenhagen overall. But you can see right now, at least, it's not really coming back to bite them at all. They're winning like an absurd amount still against the against ecos as well. So they're doing pretty well in that aspect also. And so that was the introduction to Paper Rex. I hope you enjoyed it, and I know that I certainly can't wait to see this team play, because they do play such a fun, lovable, enjoyable style of Valorant.